This is the Northwood Report on ESPN WestPalm.com, taking you through everything that is Seahawks sports. Now, here's Jeremy Marks-Peltz.
And it is another exciting edition of the Northwood Report, our monthly look at Northwood Seahawk sports. Jeremy Marks-Peltz. I call Northwood basketball on ESPNWestPalm.com. You also hear me on ESPN West Palm tonight, 6 to 7 p.m. on ESPN 106.3. And to my right, he is the Swiss Army knife. He is the jack of all trades. He may have given himself a couple of those nicknames, but nobody knows more about Northwood University athletics than Chris Kendrick, the sports information director for each and every Northwood sport. And we will bounce around a little bit. We do have some sad news to pass along. We will do that a little later on in the podcast. So we don't want to make it look like we are ignoring the other sports. However, this is probably the one podcast per year that if you're a fan of Northwood Seahawk men's basketball, if you have been following along Rolly Massimino's team, this one is for you.
Yeah, definitely, Jeremy. It's always good to be back here recording another podcast. And this one's special because it's national tournament time. We've referenced it through pretty much every podcast so far, and we finally had the Sun Conference tournament over the weekend, and now it's finally time for nationals.
It is time for nationals, but we do have to reflect on an amazing accomplishment. So let's go back to the beginning of the year. This team had 10 new players.
Yep.
They had their entire starting five gone, including Rashad James, the player of the year in the Sun Conference, and Ty Davis, wasn't he on your Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, he made the Mount Rushmore. Yeah, didn't hear too many complaints. Now I've kind of looked back. I'm sure we'll etch it out again in future podcasts, maybe an updated Mount Rushmore. But yeah, no, they had a successful team last year, and like you mentioned, a lot of turnover into this season. And early in the year, the team was 3-5, had suffered a loss to Palm Beach Atlantic for the first time in 5 years.
Right.
And it was really one of those moments where you weren't sure how this team was going to respond. And then as the season went along, we saw some growth in the team, and it was really good to see.
So did you think, when you saw this team and you saw that start, what did you think the ceiling was? What did you think the best that Northwood could do?
I mean, when you have Coach Massimino, sky's the limit as always. It's just how the team can mesh well, and I think we referenced it a lot, just how the chemistry had developed over the year. And that was the issue, was how all these players who come from all different areas over the country and have played in so many different systems, how are they going to all react to coming together? And, we saw them just flourish. They had some rough patches here and there, suffered some losses to St. Thomas, lost to Embry-Riddle. Some real heartbreakers. We talked about those last-second shots. So to see them just be resilient this season and end up, battling so hard in the Sun Conference tournament and, got themselves in the spot where they're, earned their bid to nationals.
Yeah, and it just felt like, the road that Northwood had, victory over Johnson and Wales in the quarterfinals of the tournament. Johnson and Wales, a pesky team, but Northwood eventually, took care of business in the final 10 minutes. They avenged the loss against Southeastern, the second seed in the Sun Conference. They blew them out earlier this year.
Yep.
Northwood win and won a close game where the Seahawks got some contributions from guys like Julian Smith off the bench. It
was a great game in the tournament, that one. Like you said, it was a lot of redemption in the tournament this year, and it started with Southeastern. You had Julian Smith come off the bench with 21 points. He played really well in the second half, was just finding his flow on the floor, and was really getting into the paint at will, and really showed his athleticism with his jump shot when he did get to the paint and create his own opportunities. And then we saw them, again, just rally against St. Thomas in that championship game.
Yeah, and I was there for that game. We did a special broadcast, you and I. Finally put the Northwood Report guys together.
Put it on the big stage, so I hope everyone enjoyed it.
For the powers to be to think about the logic behind that.
We're making our way in through the world here, I'm sure, soon enough, just on ESPN.
I know Mike Breen and Jeff Van Gundy are going to have to move over eventually. Now, I saw a little bit of Northwood here and there before this year, before I was involved in the program. But I got to imagine, did that team look as dominant as the teams in the past? Because what they did on Monday night Tuesday against the number 1 seeded St. Thomas, and we're taping this on a Friday, by the way, but before the NAIA tournament, which we'll get to. But, everything from the three-point shooting of Chris Solomon to the interior passing to multiple bigs just having their way to defensively, the best player on St. Thomas didn't score until midway through the second half. I mean, that looked like a team that could win a national championship.
Yeah, everything seemed to come together at that game against St. Thomas. It seemed like Solo had found his legs again and found his shot. He was also Sun Conference Player of the Year and really showed it in that game, why he'd earned that accolade. Really played well. And like you said, in the paint, we had just Jake Lockhart and Fred Madison just controlling the glass. Seahawks dominated the rebounding in that game and created a lot of second-chance points in that game against St. Thomas. And defensively, they were very sound. Held Floyd Battle pointless or scoreless in the first half when he was one of the top scorers for St. Thomas and one of the top scorers in the conference itself. So just keeping him quiet. Then you mentioned Kevin Hincapie was also a tough defender, but he didn't find his stroke offensively either due to the tough defense from Northwood. So I think all around just a great performance heading into the tournament against St. Thomas.
And you talked about, when you have Rolly Massimino on your side, anything is possible. How much at this level of play, how much of a difference does coaching make? How much?
It makes all the world
Rolly
of difference.
Massimino, you look at these teams and just say, well, you know what? With all due respect to, X coach here, Y coach here, this team has a guy that won a national championship and is a college basketball Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's just a legend in the game, but also you have to consider just the mass amount of experience he has. He's probably been in every situation in college basketball, so nothing's really new for him. He can go, okay, we're at this spot, and this is how I've done it in the past, and we've been successful here. This is maybe how I'll tweak it. He's just been through so much in his historic career that nothing's ever new to him, and he's just prepared for everything. And, he's always running these kids just hard at practice, and really no days off for Coach Massimino. It's really just a tribute to watch him at this level and just keep working so hard at his age and just where he's gotten to in collegiate sports.
Northwood Report, Jeremy Marks-Peltz, Chris Kendrick here on ESPN Yeah, and one of the things that just struck me from the first time experiencing a Rolly Massimino practice before the season starts, you see someone that's, pushing 80 years old, and you think, all right, well, he's kind of the CEO of the team, but he has his assistants under him, and maybe Rolly's at practices and kind of letting, other guys run the show. He is involved in everything. He's involved in every drill.
Yep.
He runs the rules on everything. He has his stamp on every. I mean, you would think he's 35 years old. And I got to think, Chris, when you look at his coaching accomplishments at Northwood, I got to think, regardless of how they finish, this is probably his best coaching job with the Seahawks.
Yeah, definitely one of his best teams. I mean, I've only been here for 2 years now, but I've just, seen the makeups of the teams in the past and just how this team has come together and it just experienced so much that Northwood as a program hasn't really had in a few years. They've just been so dominant that to hit the rough patches that they did this year and just to battle back, I think is just a testament to how, great coach is with his players and just keeping them up and just keeping that energy. I think his enthusiasm for the game is just outstanding. And just to watch him in practice, showing guys how to take a charge. He'll go in the paint, and you'll just see Coach on the ground laying there, having fun with the guys, just saying, this is where you got to be to take the charge.
And that rubs off. And, I mean, look, college basketball coaches are sometimes brutal with players. I mean, we just saw Frank Martin get suspended from South Carolina for yelling some choice words. And I mean, you don't see that from the coaching staff here. But, I mean, Rolly will get on his guys. Rolly will get upset. But I think it's that trade-off. It's like every single player knows that he loves him. Mm-hmm. The coaching staff loves him. He's not just, going to be screaming maniacally and not be invested in life. So that's why you can be hard on players.
Yeah, and he also has, the players know the expectations he has for them. And, if they're not achieving those, the coach will let them know. And it's fun watching the fans in the crowd react to Coach because he's the loudest guy in the gym. Clearly, and when you see fans behind just laughing, snickering, like, oh, just look at him getting on his players like that, it's all in love, but he just has a certain expectation of his players and an execution level, and, they can perform at that level, and, they get on themselves too, but Coach is also echoing his thoughts very loudly from the sideline.
All right, Northwood Report, JMP, Chris Kendrick with you. And now let's preview Northwood's chances here in the NAIA tournament. First off, the big trip to Branson, Missouri.
Branson, Missouri.
Well, for 99% of people listening, what the heck is Branson, Missouri? What is there to do in Branson, Missouri? Because you guys are going to be spending a few days even before your first game.
Yeah,
in Branson,
I was looking
Missouri.
at the schedule because selection show came out the other night. Northwood will be facing Friends in the opening round of the tournament Thursday at 1:45 p.m. So that's Thursday, March 13th.
1:45 Central Time.
Yes, Central. So 2:45 here.
Listening on the Eastern Time Zone.
And for all you people that just haven't been to Branson, I suggest you YouTube it because it is the Las Vegas of the Midwest. That's what they're go for. They have like all these videos talking about just all the things to do.
They have like casinos all over the place?
It's more like entertainment shows. I think Barry Williams of the Brady Bunch has a show there.
One of the greats.
Former comedian legend Yakov Smirnoff has a show out there. It's all kind of that kind of element. We went to the American Stampede last season, and it's that Civil War reenactment where they do competitions and you eat food with your hands like a Viking, and it's a fun experience. So they have all that kind of stuff. It's hard to not find things to do in Branson. It's a very entertaining location, especially when you're bringing 32 teams from all over the country together to have a central spot where teams can have things to do. It's always good. So I'm excited. We had the opening show. There was a comedian who also juggled swords. He balanced golf clubs like on his finger in some kind of crazy
like an
arrangement.
all everything. He's like one day he's a comedian, the next day he's a magician.
You just got to go into Branson with the mentality that you never know what you're going to see, but you just have to enjoy it.
Is it kind of like Key West-ish of like the obviously without the beaches and the weather, but just
I haven't been to Key West yet, so I'm not sure of what the reputation is there.
I'm glad a lot of perspective.
Yeah, but I just suggest all you people at home just YouTube some videos on Branson and just kind of see how they sell themselves.
Missouri's cool. I mean, I lived there for almost a year. I lived in Columbia at a college doing minor league baseball, and Columbia is your typical college town.
Yeah.
It was awesome where they had. I ordered a first cocktail at a place, and they charged $10, and I thought, like, all right, well, this is, that's how much these things cost, because that's what it is in Miami growing up, and then you find out, it's all you can drink for $10.
Oh, it's gotta love college, right? Gotta love those little rules at certain places. College towns are fun. I mean, I was at the University of Montana in Missoula, and that's the perfect example of a college town. 25,000 seat football stadium that's full every Sunday to watch the Grizz play. So, I loved it as myself.
Yeah.
And it's the host down in Branson is College of the Ozarks. They have a nice little campus there. So, it's a great little venue for this tournament.
Springfield and Ozarks is a really nice place. So you'll have some fun.
Yeah.
But Thursday, March 13th, 2:45 Eastern, 1:45 local time, Northwood and Friends, Kansas. So what is what do you look at in terms of expectations? I mean, what is the path like, and how far do you think that this team can go?
I think this will continue that whole road to redemption. After last year with such a quick exit, battling host College of the Ozarks, who I found out they get an automatic bid as the host. They're 6-2 as the host school, so they have a tremendous home court advantage. And Northwood suffered defeat to that team last year. So I think this, again, is just another redemption trip. You got a tough Friends team. They're ranked 20th in the nation, 25-6. They won the regular season championship, the Kansas Collegiate Athletic Conference, and they're 0-4 all-time in the national tournament. So they're looking to pick up their first win. And they're a very, very pretty good team here. They're first in the nation in field goal shooting. They're connecting on 52% from the floor. They're second in three-point shooting at 42%, hitting nearly or over 10 threes a game, and they're the sixth scoring offense in the country, generating nearly 90 points and are outscoring teams by an average of 14 points. So this is a tough opponent, I think, for Northwood coming out of the gates. They have a lot of power. It seems like a lot of their offenses run through senior guard Joe Mitchell. He's the leading scorer in the nation, is averaging 32.7 points, and he's registered 1,015 points in the season, which is pretty high number to get. Not a lot of players hit 1,000 points in a season. But he's shooting nearly 60% from the field. He leads the team in points, rebounds, assists, steals. He was the conference player of the year, conference first team selection. So, this is a very tough opponent, I think, for Northwood, but if you can get past a team like Friends, I think you can hit a nice stride where now you'll face a tough opponent in probably Cornerstone, who Northwood suffered a 30-point loss to previously in Nationals. So, again, that whole redemption series. And, as it plays out, I think Northwood definitely has the ability to go all the way.
Yeah, I like the theme a lot. It's a 32-team tournament, so you're going to have tough games every single game. It feels like this Friends game, it's kind of in a 32-team tournament, maybe Northwood's the equivalent of like a 4 seed, and Friends is, like a 7 or an 8 seed. So,
it's a tough matchup. But I think, watching how the Seahawks played against St. Thomas, they're just at a great stride right now. Ian is playing really well. Ian Umpierre, guard for Northwood, the point guard. He's really hit his stride offensively.
Yeah.
We've seen him really kind of get it to the bucket. Yeah, exactly. And he's really taken the ball into the paint and kind of drawn more defense to him, which is really opening things up down on the blocks for, Fred Madison and Jake Lockhart, or even outside for Solo. So I think him really stepping up his game come these crucial games for Northwood has really helped the Seahawks a lot as well.
All right, so Thursday, the Seahawks and Friends, 2:45 Eastern Time, and that is the tip-off of the game.
Are you guys going to do a little bracket challenge here at the ESPN offices, distribute some NAI brackets?
We might. Details on that coming up soon. We're going to come back in the Northwood Report, but first we've been mentioning a lot about Rollie Massimino. Earlier this week, got a chance to catch up with Coach Mass after the Sun Conference Championship for my show, ESPN West Palm Tonight. Here's that interview, and then Chris and I will come back here on ESPNWestPalm.com. Coach, congratulations.
Thank you, JMP. It's very nice, and I want to thank ESPN, and especially you, for calling the games and doing such a wonderful job with all our friends throughout the country.
Well, absolutely. We appreciate that. No other place that we'd rather be. So, Coach, you've had this experience a few times, including at the NCAA level and, a few times with Northwood. What's that feeling like when you win a championship?
Oh, it was great. It sort of made everyone feel very special, those that are Villanova alumni, you know what I mean, the university themselves and, our whole family and all the players that have played and the coaches that have been involved. It was a great experience for us and something that I will never forget.
You had 10 new players on this roster, a lot of talented players, but 10 new players overall. At the beginning of the year, did you think that this was this a realistic goal for you?
Well, not really, but I thought that if we could develop the chemistry that was needed in order to win basketball games in this environment, you really had to have good chemistry and togetherness. And as you know, our whole programs over the years has been based on family, and that's what it's all about. And the kids bought in, yell, scream, whatever, and they were very, very upfront. And they began to meld, right towards the end of the season, and we've kind of ran the gamut, as good as we can play right at the present time.
Rollie Massimino, the head coach of Northwood, of course, college basketball Hall of Famer, joining us in the Metro PCS hotline. The Seahawks winning the Sun Conference Championship, now headed to the NAIA Championships, which begin next week. Tell everybody about Chris Solomon, who, we know all about him, Sun Conference Player of the Year, maybe one of the best players you've coached. What makes him so special?
Well, he's so special because he's a wonderful young man who works at his craft, as well as anyone as we've ever had. He's considered a shooter, but he's learned to do things other than just shoot the ball. I kind of kid him about being soft, and he told me the other night, he says, Coach Mass, I'm not soft anymore. And that's what it's all about. He's really grown up, and I think the world of him, and he's made it happen. We had to depend upon him the first 20 games because, everyone was getting into the swing of what was expected of them, and how they have to fit into our program. And every person kind of has an identity. And he came in as a shooter, and he really persevered. And now Fred Masterson has come alive the last 10 games. And along with Chris Lee, as you know, the freshman who has been playing extremely well, and then get the addition of Ian Lampierre. I mean, he's controlled that group, as if he were a coach on the floor. So, just little by little, they all possess their talents, but they never could put everything, together. And, again, as we grew, we talked about life, about what it's going to happen. There's going to be confrontations. There's going to be problems. You have to learn to overcome those kind of things, in life and or in basketball. And that's a great way of teaching youngsters, as part of an athletic team, how to realistically face life and face whatever might be in front of you to get where you want to go.
Rollie Massimino, College Basketball Hall of Famer, the head coach at Northwood, joining us, and, of course, so many great players on that Seahawks team going to an NAIA championship. Real quickly, Coach, one more before you go. Kind of a little off topic, but it's been a hot topic that everyone's been talking about the last couple of days, and that is Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, has come out and has said, that maybe college players would be better that, going to the NBA D-League than spending a year or so in college. And you're a huge basketball fan. You're a guy that coached at so many levels in college basketball. What do you think is the perfect system for players, to get to the pros?
Well, realistically, there's no perfect system. But when Mark Cuban said that some coaches, say things that are not really that are construed the wrong way, the NBA are the folks that made that rule that they have to sit out at least a year.
Right.
That wasn't the college coaches. Okay, now all of a sudden the D-League has become very popular, so now they want to say that you don't go to school. I've never had anyone that would leave early, so I can't give you my, My feeling is if you're going to college, you might not go to college, but don't prevent me from not going to the NBA, which they did. Now they got the D-League. They're enforcing their environment even more. So, they're changing their tune. But I always thought that if they go to college, but if they don't want to go to college, they should be allowed to do what they want to do. And then if they go to college, they should be mandated to go for 2 years. Then you have to go to school, because if you don't go to school, you're not eligible to play.
Yeah, it totally makes sense to me. Coach, always appreciate it. Congratulations, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Okay, Jeremy. Thanks so much, you guys, for everything you've done.
All right, welcome back to the Northwood Report. Jeremy Marks-Peltz, along with the jack of all trades when it comes to Northwood athletics, Chris Kendrick. Nobody knows more about Seahawks sports than him. Just an intensive breakdown of the NAIA chances for Northwood, plus Branson, Missouri, plus a look back at the Seahawks' run to a Sun Conference championship, their second in school history. And then you heard the conversation with Rollie Massimino. You can rewind the podcast if you missed any of that. We do have some sad news before we get to the plug sheet and give you what else is going on in sports world. An absolute legend that may very well be Mount Rushmore worthy.
Oh, definitely now, yeah.
With Northwood had passed away.
Yeah, sadly and unexpectedly, head baseball coach Rick Smoliak passed away, and he was just a real staple at Northwood, a real ambassador for baseball. He'd been at Northwood since 1999, and he'd really just been one of those faces in the athletic department that was always there. And it was just amazing to see all the people that just reached out, and just the presence that Rick had in baseball and also in the conference, and just seeing just all the people's lives that he touched and just improved as a coach. But, on and off the field, staying in touch with his players, it was just kind of really amazing to see. And it's a sad loss for Northwood, but the team has really, been inspired by it. And, they want to win for Rick. They're trying to get him 500 wins right now. He's at 470. So the team will need to win 30 games this season, and right now Northwood has won 9. So if they can hammer out 21 wins the rest of the season, they would not only just get 500 wins for Coach Smoliak, they'd also definitely have a chance at winning the conference and trying to get to nationals, which would just really be just a real tremendous end for the season after just suffering such a heartbreak here in Northwood.
Is there a particular memory or little anecdote that you have about Rick Smoliak that can maybe just allow the fans that didn't get a chance to know him to just understand how special he was?
Well, Rick was it's always funny because as a baseball guy, he was in our hallways. He'd always talk about basketball. So he loved basketball, and he was a Laker guy, actually. He's always talking with former coach Mark Sanford about
Mark
about
Sanford
basketball.
is like the biggest Kobe Bryant
Yeah,
ever
exactly.
imaginable.
And then, but personally, just for Rick, in sports information, a lot of stuff just goes unnoticed. So Rick always was very appreciative of anything I did for him. I'd give him stats, and I compiled all our history that I could find. He was always like, "Oh, thank you. This is great stuff. That's great stuff." So, he was just one of those guys that really appreciated everything that I did, and just a sad loss here at Northwood.
Yeah, absolutely a sad loss, but with his Rick Smoliak's memory will certainly live on, and hopefully the baseball team can get to those 500 wins. Anyway, I know you got a lot written on the plug sheet, so without further ado,
we'll power it out here. So again, baseball, like we were just talking, they'll be playing St. Francis this week in a series from March 11th to the 12th. They'll be playing 3 games over the 2 days. Then softball, we'll be playing a doubleheader against Menlo University Wednesday, March 12th. Now we also, big news, Northwood has had 2 track members qualify for nationals, and they'll be competing today. That's Mariah Johnson. She'll be competing in the 60-meter hurdles and the triple jump, and then we have Alexandra Ellis competing in the high jump. So check out the website to see how they compete or how they finish at nationals. Men's golf just won the Harmony Preserve Intercollegiate competition against some NCAA D1 schools, and they'll be facing the conference now at the UCB Sandshark Classic this weekend. Women's golf will be at up in Daytona at the LPGA International course at the Embry-Riddle Eagle Invitational on St. Patrick's Day, and then March 18th. Women's tennis against Marion, or both tennis squads against Marion, March 11th up in Orlando. Want all you fans to stay up to date with all your Seahawks information by visiting our official website at seahawks.gonorthwood.com. Like the Seahawks on Facebook at facebook.com/NUSeahawks. Follow the Seahawks on Twitter at twitter.com/NUSeahawks, and follow myself on Twitter at ckendrick86. Follow JMP1063 on Twitter. And then you can listen to all the podcasts on our YouTube page at youtube.com/NUSeahawks. And that's all she wrote for the plug sheet.
So what is it? 5 more wins. 5 more wins.
Yeah, 5 more wins for the championship. And it's like we said, this NAIA tournament is one of the toughest ones in the nation. At the NCAA level, you get that week off and play like every weekend. At the NAIA tournament, it's 5 games in 7 days. So, you got to bring your best game, and you can't afford injury at this level. It's just going to be a great week. So I want all you fans to, go to the NAIA website. You can purchase packages to watch. We're going to be trying to do some broadcasting as well from the tournament. So we'll see, maybe work some things in with JMP's show as well if possible. So we want all you fans just to, follow the Seahawks journey to hopefully their first title.
Good stuff. For Chris Kendrick, I'm Jeremy Marks-Peltz. It has been another edition of the Northwood Report, and we will talk to you soon.